From TQL Stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio, it's FC Cincinnati of MLS welcoming O&M FC of the Dominican Republic. Second leg of this first round tie in the 2026 Concacaf Champions Cup. 46 degrees this evening, slight breeze, slight chance of precipitation as these two teams finish up their first round tie. Last week, it was FC Cincinnati taking it to O&M FC in the Dominican Republic. Cincinnati took it by a 4-0 scoreline, so they can breathe a lot easier here tonight. Still have to make sure they go out there and take care of business, no doubt. But just even in listening to the pregame conversation that the local reporters had with head coach Pat Noonan of FC Cincinnati, that 4-0 scoreline was a big load off their shoulders last week. We'll get to the starting 11 in a short while. But in that pregame press conference, Pat Noonan even mentioned that the scoreline allowed them to tinker with the lineup a little bit. They played their first MLS match of the season over the weekend on Saturday. They lost Evander to an injury in that game. They believe it's nothing too significant that'll cost him too much time, but just shows you how difficult it can be sometimes to get your season up and running. So right now, tonight, they have a luxury of a 4-0 aggregate lead, and they are using it to their advantage in the lineup they will deploy here this evening. Now, last week, it was close early, and then really pulling away late. FC Cincinnati turning the screws just a bit more. It was 2-0 until halftime. Tom Barlow and Kevin Denke with the 2 goals for Cincinnati. The last 2 goals from Ayoub Jabari did not come until the 86th minute and then 90+2. So it was very late that they were able to fully put this tie, it seems, to bed. They dominated the night, nearly 70% of the possession, 17 shots, 11 on target. There was not a single shot on target allowed by Cincinnati in the affair last week. We'll see if they can continue their successful ways here this evening as the crowd pauses for the national anthem. Well, FC Cincinnati has had a stellar start to 2026. Their 4-0 victory over O&M FC last week, and then a 2-0 victory over Atlanta United in their MLS opener on the weekend. The form hasn't been the same as of late for O&M FC. Over their last 7 matches in domestic play, 5 losses and 2 draws. Couple that with their loss to Cincinnati. Their last win came on December 17th, and in the 8 games since, O&M FC have been outscored 19-6 by their opponents. So tonight, sure, it's a long shot on the road, down 4-0 on aggregate to a team that last week proved its superiority in Cincinnati, but an opportunity for O&M FC tonight to try and take some positives out of this that they can take back with them into their domestic campaign. O&M qualified for this Champions Cup, their first ever Concacaf Champions Cup, as the runners-up of last year's Concacaf Caribbean Cup. This is only their 3rd CONCACAF club competition all time. They played in 2 Caribbean Cups, and here again is their debut in 2026 in Champions Cup. Cincinnati, on the other hand, a team that is looking to make some noise in this tournament this year. Each of the last 2 years, they got past smaller competition in the opening round, and they lost to a Liga MX team in the round of 16. This is their 3rd straight year in Champions Cup. You can't quite look ahead. You do have to take care of business tonight. But Tigres is the team that would be next for Cincinnati. It was Tigres who eliminated Cincinnati in the round of 16 last year. So as these teams take the field, Cincinnati have that determination in their back pocket to make sure they get through tonight with a 4-0 aggregate lead, to take on Tigres once again in the round of 16 next time around and try to make amends for what happened at the hands of Tigres last year. Cincinnati fell 1 point short of the Supporter Shield in MLS a season ago. They are back with a vengeance here in 2026. It's Cincinnati against O&M FC here from TQL Stadium. We'll have kickoff, and lineups in a moment. Ready to get things going at TQL Stadium as we're set to meet the starting lineups for O&M and FC Cincinnati. Second leg here in this opening round matchup. Cincinnati took it 4-0 last week, and as a result of that, they're able to mix things up here in this starting 11. Head coach Pat Noonan sends out Evan Loro in goal. On the back line, it's a different mix and match. Gilberto Flores anchors the back five this week. In the midfield, Brian Anunga, the base point of the midfield quartet. Tom Barlow up top after his goal last week. Obino Wobodo starts alongside in the midfield. Anunga, Valenzuela, and Jimenez. So overall, a handful of changes for Cincinnati from last week's opening leg with that 4-0 victory. Some changes from their weekend matchup against Atlanta United in MLS as well. Katia Garcia leads an all-Mexican crew with Sandra Ramirez, Karen Diaz, and Danielle Quintero. As the captains venture out for the coin toss, Angel Melo of O&M FC, Elvis Powell of FC Cincinnati. Inside the VAR room, Guillermo Pacheco of Mexico and Anthony Bravo of Costa Rica are in charge should we need to go that route at some point. And now the 11 for Universidad O&M FC. In goal, Iraitz Kelbensu came over last July. On the back line, it is Gabriel Castillo alongside Julen Olasagasti, anchoring things in the midfield. Isaac Baez and Josue Baez, the twins, play alongside each other, and Julen Monterola is up top. They did not manage a shot on target last week in the affair. Obviously tonight, down 4-0 on aggregate, have to be better in the attack if they want any chance at a miracle in Concacaf Champions Cup. This crowd in Cincinnati at TQL Stadium, always year in, year out, among the best in MLS. A decent smattering of fans here this evening on a weeknight, with the aggregate being what it is. The loyal supporters down at that end, ready to make their voices heard. It's Cincinnati in the blue with orange trim from right to left. O&M in their gold from left to right. Last week, Cincinnati took it to O&M early. Tom Barlow scoring 12 minutes in. They took a 2-0 lead into halftime and managed a 4-0 victory that they take with them here into this second leg. And we are underway at TQL Stadium. Happy to have you along this evening. Joe Malfa with you for the action. Round one, second leg in the Concacaf Champions Cup between FC Cincinnati and O&M FC. this not the only action on this busy evening in Champions Cup. A little over 2 hours from now, the Vancouver Whitecaps welcome Cartaginés up in Canada. That one was 0-0 after the first leg. And then very late on the East Coast this evening, 11:30 Eastern time, the LA Galaxy welcome Sporting San Miguelito. That finished 1-1 last week. Sporting San Miguelito, the home side last week in Panama. Galaxy home tonight in Los Angeles. So those other two affairs this evening still have a lot to be decided after a pair of draws in the opening legs last week. But Pat Noonan looks on, happy that his team was able to take care of business 4-0 last week. Said as much in his pregame interview here tonight, that it gave them an opportunity to tinker with the lineup a little bit, already start resting some guys as the matches start coming thick and fast now between Champions Cup and MLS play. Sagasti, Castillo looking in behind. Cincinnati glancing over for an offside flag that now does come up. It's an interesting mix on that back line for FC Cincinnati that Jose Aparicio is hoping his side could exploit tonight. Some of the regulars that you'd normally see at center back for FC Cincinnati, the Miles Robinsons, the Nick Haglunds of the world, not in tonight. Gilberto Flores anchors the back line. To his left, the 17-year-old Andre Chirilla. To his right, the veteran MLS journeyman Kyle Smith in his first season with Cincinnati. Elvis Powell. Obina Wobino. Dominated possession last week, Cincinnati, nearly 70-30. Turned over to Isaac Baez, splitting it through. Flag stays down this time for Anielo Gomez. Dispossessed by Kyle Smith. On paper, this was the matchup with arguably the biggest disparity on paper in terms of the rankings in CONCACAF. FC Cincinnati in the CONCACAF club rankings ranked number 12. Universidad O&M FC of the Dominican Republic, 142nd. Happy to be here in some ways, making it through to the final last year in Caribbean Cup, where they fell to Mount Pleasant. Be a massive step up in competition for Cincinnati, assuming they hold on tonight. It'll be Tigres for them in the round of 16, the fourth-ranked team in CONCACAF. Smith, Onunga. All the way back for Evan Loro. Doesn't see much action behind Roman Celentano, but he gets the nod tonight. Evan Loro, similar story for him last year. His lone Champions Cup appearance came in the second leg after they had beaten Motagua 4-1 in the first leg. And there is the young Andre Chirilla, 17 years of age. To this point, has only played with their third division team in MLS Next Pro, FC Cincinnati 2, in 26 starts last year. 2 goals and 1 assist on the back line. Valenzuela trying to split his way through, denied. Again, it's Valenzuela chipping into the back post, drifting out of play and out for a goal kick. Daro Valenzuela one of the young bright spots of this FC Cincinnati organization. Good to see him get some run here this evening as the starter. He really broke out last year. 23 appearances, 5 goals, 1 assist in MLS. Bernardo Valenzuela, still just 21 years of age. And now on the other side, concern for O&M. Angel Melo threw off the gloves, went down on his own back behind the plate, reaching at that left leg. Poor body language here. Hope he's able to continue. And here is where he hobbled a bit. Pounding the ground, shin guards off. Doesn't seem like he will be long for the evening. And a sub is being readied. Hate to see this 7 minutes in. Your captain goes down with an injury. Simon Cuello will take his spot.
Substitution from O&M FC. Coming out of the match, number 2, Angel Melo. Coming into the match, number 20, Simon Cuello.
Hola Sagasti, 26-year-old from Spain, went 90 last week on that back line. Powell driving it forward on the right side, cut off by Sagasti. Tough for Angel Melo, 31-year-old veteran of this squad. He's been with the club since 2023, 7 caps for Dominican Republic at the senior level, somebody they really rely upon. Pressure closing in from Cincinnati. O&M looking to play out. Castillo. Gilbensu. Be interesting what sort of identity this game takes on between two teams who pretty much know what the result is at 4-0 on aggregate. Sort of going through the motions in some ways. Makes for a difficult evening psychologically for a player. Minutes gone. Free kick for O&M. Baez settles. Baez bounces around. Shout for a handball. See if they take a second look at it in the VAR room. O&M seemed adamant. Cincinnati calm. Evan Loro springing it long for Bernardo Valenzuela. Flag stays down. Valenzuela could be in. Feeds it across for Barlow. That is Route 1 football if I've ever seen it. Evan Loro's punt finds Valenzuela across to Barlow. Very well should be 1-0 Cincinnati. Get a great look at it from here. Just how much Barlow might have missed by. Not much. Could Valenzuela have taken a little bit weight off the pass? Made it a little bit easier for Barlow, certainly. Still one that a veteran goal scorer like Barlow would like to have back. 3 goals last season. 19 in his MLS career, the 30-year-old coming over to Cincinnati from Chicago here this season. Wobodo. Bomadem. Anunga. And Bomadem. Took a deflection, spinning toward goal. Kenji Mbomadem was the one pressuring. Assistant referee on the far side did signal that it went out for a goal kick. Steven Jimenez. Kenji Mbomadem. Nudge from behind. Shout for a penalty from Cincinnati. Faris says play on Katia Garcia. Chirilla. Third game in 7 days for Cincinnati. Beat O&M 4-0 last week. Beat Atlanta 2-0 on the weekend. So to begin their 2026 competitive campaign. A pair of wins and 6-0 when you combine the games together. Pat Noonan could not have asked for much more other than the health of one of his star men, Evander, who picked up a knock against Atlanta on the weekend. Elvis Powell. Captains decide tonight. Powell lets it rip. Gelbensu with the save. A lot of star power and key players missing tonight for Cincinnati. But again, that's mostly by design with the 4-0 aggregate advantage. They were in a similar spot last year after beating Motagua 4-1 in the opening leg. Ended up tying 1-1 in the second leg. Similar to what it looks like so far this evening. Both sides just sort of meandering about in a way, knowing the result is well in hand. For Cincinnati, the eyes are on a strong start in MLS, where last year they finished 1 point off of the Supporter Shield as the top team in the regular season. As I alluded to earlier, it'll be Tigres in the round of 16 for Cincinnati, the same team that eliminated them in the round of 16 last year. Monterola for Josue Baez. It's been active early on. Baez on the left foot, had it blocked. Isaac Baez, his twin brother, clipping to the back post. Back line of Cincinnati holding strong as they did last week. Allowed 9 shots last week, none on target. So far tonight, still nothing on target. Bent ahead to Barlow, flag stays down. Barlow saved by Gelbensu. That's 2 good looks for Barlow now. Could not finish either, but finding the space in behind. Alberto Flores feeds it through. Jimenez along for Mbomadem. Jimenez. Wobodo chipping it back over the top for Jimenez. Clever from Wobodo. A little bit too much on it. Steven Jimenez active in the early going. Only made 2 appearances in MLS last year. The youngest homegrown signing in FC Cincinnati's history as he came up to the academy. Spent most of his time with the second team in the 3rd division, MLS Next Pro. 43 appearances, a goal and an assist for the young 18-year-old who debuted at the age of 15. He's been in camps for the United States and Mexico at various youth levels. He's bounced back and forth. Hasn't been tethered to either nation just quite yet. All eyes will be on Jimenez at just 18 years of age, ahead of this summer's Concacaf U20 Championship. Could he represent Mexico or the United States? No determination yet. Wobodo. Valenzuela back for Wobodo. Through for Bomadem, and it's in! Kenji and Bomadem tiptoed the line. Flag stayed down after a quick glance, and FC Cincinnati leads it 1-0 on the night, 5-0 on aggregate. See if this one will stand. Wobodo, plenty of room for Bomadem. Could see in the center of the park, multiple players for O&M raising their hand, asking for the flag, but there were 3 separate players that kept Bomadem onside. 24-year-old came up through the college ranks, drafted by FC Cincinnati in 2024. Last season, 7 goals, 5 assists in MLS Next Pro with their second team. Only made 4 appearances at MLS for 82 minutes. And Bomadem has his first goal with the first team. And Cincinnati are on their way here this evening. Easy night to have a good time as a fan of Cincinnati. 5-0 on aggregate. No stress whatsoever. Just good football and a good time. Julian Monterola stands over the free kick. Into the wall, and Bomadem got a piece of it. Still on for O&M. Cleared by Wobodo. Chirilla. Flores. Almost halfway through this first half. Total control Cincinnati on the night and on the tie. Jimenez. Picked up by O&M with a goal already. Anunga. Looking in behind for Monterola. We'll run out of room. It's all gone sideways for O&M FC. Finished in 6th place in the main stage of their domestic campaign in the Dominican Republic and advanced them to the winners stage the way the competition is set up in Dominican Republic. Look out here, give it away. Fizzed over the bar. Kyle Smith with the heavy touch. Set it up for Monterola. A moment like that is maybe how you can restore some confidence if you put it on frame, put it in. Monterola puts it over the bar. The way their competition is set up in the Dominican Republic, they made it to the winner's stage, but that's where they've faltered. Only 6 teams make it to that winners phase in the domestic season. They lost 5 matches with 2 draws through the first 7 matches. They have just 1 match remaining. Comes up this weekend. Have not won a match in any competition since mid-December. O&M FC. That's why a night like tonight is still very important. Sure, you're down 1-0 on the night, 5-0 on aggregate, but all it takes is a night like this against a good team in Cincinnati. Even if you come away with a 2-1 loss, a 1-1 draw would be a boon. Come away with something positive that you can maybe use as a launching pad back in your domestic campaign where things have gone so far south over the last 2 to 3 months. Flip side of that for Cincinnati. A routine night against a clearly inferior opponent over the course of last week's 90 and tonight's 23 so far. Almost, in essence, an additional preseason game for Cincinnati to iron some things out, to get some other peripheral players some playing time. Comes thick and fast after tonight. On the weekend, they're at Minnesota. To begin the month of March, they're home against Toronto, and that's where things pick up. 3 or 4 days after that Toronto match, they'll have their first leg against Tigres in the round of 16. Then they'll travel to New England on the weekend in MLS. And then the midweek come right back again against Tigres before hosting Montreal. From March 8th through March 22nd, it is one after another with Tigres in there twice for Cincinnati. Benzu, pressured by Barlow. Woboro wins it. Onunga leaves it for Jimenez. Pat Noonan ever fiery, regardless of the score and the situation. Julian Monterola joined last July. 7 goals, 4 assists in his 32 appearances for the club. Helped get them to that runners-up finish in Caribbean Cup back in the fall. That earned O&M FC a spot in this year's Champions Cup, their first ever Concacaf Champions Cup. Valenzuela for Alvis Powell. That'll be a throw right down near the corner flag, but not a corner for Cincinnati. It's the indication from the assistant referee. Anunga. Barlow to the end line. Tom Barlow feeding it in front, deflected in. Wobono might have had it. Valenzuela, with a cheeky smile, knows he might have stolen a goal from his teammate. Dado Valenzuela makes it 2-0. Have to make sure that Valenzuela was onside, and no doubt he was. And he definitely stole a goal from his teammate. Let's see. This will be the clearest look. You know, Valenzuela can show this footage to Wobono in film study this week and say that maybe it was spinning toward the post, and maybe he can justify stealing it. It's a tough justification. Maybe that's why Valenzuela had the smile on his face. In any regard, it's a goal for Cincy. It's 2-0 on the night, 6-0 on aggregate. After 5 goals in MLS play last season, a career high for the 21-year-old Valenzuela. He's on his way in 2026. Thirty-year-old Evan Loro sets up his wall as he peers through and awaits the free kick. It's Mboma who gets ahead to it. Cleared by Flores. Two shots, nothing on target for O&M. Last week they had 9 shots, none on target. FC Cincinnati have been a fortress defensively. And again, to be fair, quite a disparity between these two teams. Take a peek at the Concacaf Club rankings. Cincinnati 12th, O&M 142nd among the participating teams in this tournament. O&M, the last ranked team, at 996 CONCACAF ranking points. Teams above them, Vancouver FC, Defense Force of Trinidad and Tobago. So for Cincinnati, luck of the draw was on their side when that draw was conducted. getting the easiest opponent on paper rather. And it has borne out that way. 6-0 on aggregate. Massive step up though coming in the round of 16 for Cincinnati. That's why these matches, the rest of this game in particular, are still important. Work some things out. Fed through. Mbomadem turning. Kenji Mbomadem couldn't let it fly. Wobodo does, but has it blocked. Tigres will be next for FC Cincinnati. Fed through, flag stays down on the turn. It was Valenzuela. You never want to get too far ahead of yourself in this tournament. But it's Tigres next for Cincinnati. And if they make it to the quarterfinals, it'll likely be the Seattle Sounders, or unless they're upset tonight, the Vancouver Whitecaps. Last year's finalists, Seattle won it a few years ago and went on to have success at the Club World Cup this past summer. So to go from Tigres to one of those top MLS teams, it's a very difficult road ahead for FC Cincinnati, their path to a possible title in the Champions Cup this year. Valenzuela's corner amounts to nothing in the end. Does yield another corner. Referees exchanged a glance and made the decision. It's been a steady improvement for Cincinnati. Their first couple of years of existence, real struggle. Dead last in MLS, 3 straight seasons. And Chris Albright and Pat Noonan led the turnaround. They've made the playoffs now 3 straight years and made it in a Champions Cup 3 straight years. In swinger, Barlow flicks out of the back post. Tack on another. Kyle Smith finishes it off. 3-0 Cincinnati. Flicked on, looked to be by a defender. Oh, that's actually going to go down as an own goal. Kyle Smith went to flick at it, and it looked like he was actually heading it away from goal in the end. He just mistimed it, and it goes off of Castillo and in. You'll get a good look at it here. Goes off the hand of Castillo and in. Smith didn't catch it cleanly. His header was going back across frame or away from goal. If not for Castillo's hand. So an own goal against Gabriel Castillo. Can't really fault Iraid Skelbensu in goal for O&M FC. The heavy fire he's come under. Seen 9 shots, 4 of those on target. He's hitting 3 goals in the early going. Barlow, flag stays down. Barlow makes it 4. He opened the scoring in the first leg, and now he makes it 8-0 on aggregate, Cincinnati. These supporters enjoy it. For the players, it's just a professional breakdown right now of O&M FC defensively. Right down the middle, Barlow. Uncontested, kept onside by Olasagasti. Shambolic defending in the end from O&M FC. I mentioned it earlier. The psychology of a player really comes into play on a night like this, where coming in, it was already 4-0 on aggregate. Sort of going through the motions in some ways out there. For O&M FC, their season is winding down, and they're already out of it from the winners phase in the Dominican Republic with 5 losses and 2 draws. So they're on the way into a break after a really poor stretch of form. Cincinnati on the other side, just beginning in 2026, and looking to use tonight as another tune-up for what lies ahead. And that all adds up to the scoreline you see. 4-0 on the night, 8-0 on aggregate. Showing no signs of letting up either. Valenzuela from distance, just wide. Something to keep in mind going further on into this one. There is no goal differential factor or anything like that. You will hear later in the tournament commentators and reporters talking about having the best performance you can in terms of the goal differential, in terms of the victory, because when it comes time to determine who hosts the final, they look at a table that goes from the round of 16 onward, incorporating how the teams perform to the final. So the higher seeded team is home in that final. That's not something you have to consider yet. Round 1 is exempt from that because not every team who is going to be in contention for the final has played yet, so it would not be level ground. Remember, those teams that have a bye into the round of 16 don't have to play this round. Mount Pleasant, Alajuelense, Seattle, Toluca, and Inter Miami. So that table of sorts doesn't factor in until the round of 16 onward, in case that was something in the back of your mind that you were thinking about from last year, and will come into play later in this tournament. There is no incentive per se for Cincinnati to try and turn 4-0 into 8-0 on the evening itself. If this were in the next round, that would certainly be a topic of conversation. Loro, Chirilla. There's something to still take from a night like this. Players like Chirilla, who's on the ball now, gives it up to Jimenez. Those two players, 17 and 18 years of age respectively. It's can you go the rest of the evening without a mental lapse? Just because the score is what it is, can you use this as a mental exercise to go the rest of the way, keeping your guard up? Important lessons to learn as young players. And Bomadem is onside. He scored the first of the evening. Kenji Bomadem. Nifty footwork, feeds it in front off of Valenzuela. This is what drew the oohs and the ahs of the crowd. Calmly brought down by Mbomedem. Kenji Mbomedem. Jimenez. Wobero. Karams to Alvis Powell. Powell. That cheeky smile on the face of Julen Alasagasti lets you know where he got hit with that ball. On the strike in from Wobero. Walk it off, he'll be fine in a couple of moments. Monterola. If there's a bright spot tonight for ONM FC, it's been Monterola showing up in some big spots in the attack. He has their 3 shots. Nothing on target, though. Valenzuela. Chopped down. It'll be a corner. Corner swung in. A long chase to keep it in play for Flores. He shields it out. Throw for Cincinnati. Powell. Cleared by Olasagasti. "45 minutes come and gone in this first half. And no stoppage time needed, not with this score line. It was 4-0 Cincinnati last week. They've made it 8-0 now on aggregate after a 4-goal first half. It is all Cincinnati in this second leg of the round 1 matchup between FC Cincinnati and ONM FC in the 2026 Concacaf Champions Cup. Look at the first half stats, paint the picture. One-sided domination by FC Cincinnati. 13 shots to 3, 5 on target to nothing, 4 goals to nothing, and 8 to nothing on aggregate over O&M FC of the Dominican Republic. Look back at highlights from half number 1 between FC Cincinnati and Universidad ONM FC of the Dominican Republic. It was 4-0 on aggregate coming into the night. With that, FC Cincinnati made some very conscientious lineup decisions. Pat Noonan said as much in his pregame interview, and it really didn't matter. You could call it a B team, a C team, whatever you want that they put on the field tonight, FC Cincinnati. It's looking like the A team with 4 goals in this first half. Kenji Mbomadem gets the scoring started. His first career goal with the first team of Cincinnati. A short while later, this might have been going in from Wobodo. Valenzuela deflected it. You could actually see a dejected look on his face as he falls to his knees. And then he points knowingly at a defender that he happens to see. He thought he was offside in the moment and didn't mean to deflect it. But he did, and he's all smiles with Wobodo. The goal count's all the same, made it 2-0. Shortly thereafter, off the corner, the own goal that goes against Gabriel Castillo. Kyle Smith went to flick it on toward goal, ended up flicking it away from goal, but no matter. Everything going Cincinnati's way. It caroms off the hand of Castillo and in. And then the most straightforward goal of the evening. Just Route 1 football through the middle, threaded to Tom Barlow. He started the scoring last week, making it 1-0. And now he makes it 8-0 on aggregate. 4-0 Cincinnati on the night, 8-0 on aggregate in the tie.
Continental stage. 6 MLS clubs. Face to face with top teams across Canada, Honduras, Trinidad and Tobago, Dominican Republic, Costa Rica, and Panama. To lift the trophy, you must win everywhere. This is football. This is the Concacaf Champions Cup.
This is obsession. The beautiful sickness. You tell yourself it's just a game. A thing to pass the time. But time starts to bend around it. This is football, a madness that ties strangers together and tears friends apart. And these are its most epic battles.
This broadcast is copyrighted by Concacaf for the private use of our audience. Any other use of this broadcast or any pictures, descriptions, or accounts of the game without the consent of Concacaf is strictly prohibited.
change is inevitable. No, I'm not talking about generations. Trends have changed, styles have evolved, and the way we enjoy the game has totally transformed. The world might look different, but our love for football is unstoppable. That's why kickoff is here. We're all about connecting with you, speaking your language, giving you a voice, and boosting your passion for our game. Join us and be part of the movement.
Teams have returned to the pitch, ready to get things going in the second half here at TQL Stadium between FC Cincinnati and Universidad O&M FC. 4-0 at the break. Cincinnati leads after winning 4-0 last week. It is 8-0 on aggregate, so we'll start seeing some changes. First, for O&M, Hector Ramirez replaces Isaac Baez. Then a pair of changes coming for Cincinnati. Stefan Chirilla replaces goal scorer Tom Barlow. And Ademar Chavez replaces goal scorer Taro Valenzuela. Valenzuela made it 2-0 on the night. Barlow made it 4-0. Bookending his appearance in this tie, Barlow with goals. He scored the first last week to open things up in the 12th minute, and he scores the fourth tonight, the 8th overall. It came in the 35th minute from Brian Anunga. So Barlow acquitting himself well to his new club, coming over from Chicago. He'll take the rest of the night off. It'll be Cincinnati left to right in the blue and orange, O&M FC right to left in the yellow. Underway in half number 2. Happy to have you along this evening. Joe Malfa with you from TQL Stadium. First of 3 matches on the night in Champions Cup. The next 2 almost certain to be more competitive. Vancouver Whitecaps hosting Cartagines of Costa Rica. That's coming up at 9:30 Eastern. That was 0-0 after the opening leg. Vancouver hosting tonight. And then 2 hours after that, Los Angeles Galaxy welcomes Sporting San Miguelito. They played to a 1-1 draw in Panama last week. The Galaxy host this evening. FC Cincinnati will take on Tigres in the round of 16. 45 more minutes tonight. Just to fine-tune some things, they'll play 3 days from now once again in MLS, and then have a week off. No midweek the ensuing week. Then it comes all in a row for Cincinnati. A gauntlet beginning on March 8th. Play home against Toronto on the weekend. Tigres in the midweek. At New England on the weekend. Tigres in the midweek. And then home to Montreal. 5 matches in 14 days it'll be when the time comes. So enjoying what is still maybe a bit more of a stretched out calendar while it exists. Tonight, a luxury. After winning 4-0 last week, they were able to heavily rotate the squad, able to rotate even further here in this second half. And off to a terrific start in 2026. On their way to being 3-0 in all competitions in 2026. And currently outscoring teams 10-0 in those 3 games. Wobano. And Bomadem head up the whole way, feeding it through on the backside. Ademar Chavez didn't waste any time, tallying 3 minutes into his appearance in this second half. What a play this is from Bomadem. Had his head up the whole way, perfectly weighted ball. Chavez on the back end just had to make sure he finished it off, and did. "16 years of age. Pardon me, 17 years now. Ademar Chavez just celebrated a birthday. He's capped for Mexico up to the U16 level. This is his first appearance with the first team, and he scores 3 minutes into his debut. Has only previously played with FC Cincinnati 2 of MLS Next Pro. Also appeared for the second team in US Open Cup. So a debut and a debut goal for Chavez. Taken away, in behind, saved. Miguel Bensu denying Stefan Chirilla. Onunga looking through again for Chavez. A difficult spot for Jose Aparicio. Pensive look on his face as he wanders the technical area for O&M FC. I alluded to it in the first half. The struggles run deep right now for O&M FC. Forget tonight, forget this scoreline. Look, the simple fact of the matter is it's a massive step up in competition. They were the lowest ranked team in the tournament. They had a bit of a surprise run in the semifinals and then to the final in Caribbean Cup last year in order to qualify for this. Now, the problem that runs deeper is this is no longer a little blip on the radar. Here in 2026, they have not won a game since December 17th of last year. They finished in 6th place in their domestic campaign to enter into the winners phase. And now in said winners phase, 8 matches to be played. They lost 5, drew 2, and they play their final match on the weekend. Factor in tonight plus last week. And ever since that last win on December 17th, O&M FC in all competitions, 7 losses, 2 draws, being outscored 24-6. So for the aforementioned Jose Aparicio as he looks on, searching for answers. Even if you could find just 1 goal tonight, just something positive to hang your hat on and carry with you going forward. Chavez, back to Chirilla. Andre Chirilla, that is. His brother now up top, Stefan Chirilla. Here he is, Chirilla for a goal. Wide. Nowhere particularly close as he looks skyward, he knew it. Chirilla. Nice move to the middle by Alvis Powell. Still on his horse, Alvis Powell. The crowd was waiting to erupt there. A fan favorite wearing the captain's armband tonight. Splits two defenders there, past another, and dashing through the middle. Unfamiliar territory for Alvis Powell. Wolbero lost it. Lasagasti gave it right back. Chavez. This is what you don't want to see. The score being what it is on this evening. Last thing you want is any injury. Gilberto Flores in quite a bit of pain as he rolls around. Back to his feet, seems to be all right, Flores, Paraguayan defender. Coelho. Trincado. Bomadem opened the scoring early tonight, and then he assisted on the 5th goal. Smith does not have a goal of his own, but he was the last Cincinnati player to touch it before the Castillo own goal that made it 3-0. And the way this night has gone and the number of goals that have been scored, take your pick, pretty much anybody that touches the ball has some sort of involvement on a goal. Wobodo has an assist on Valenzuela's goal, dispossessed here though. Monterola gives it right back. And Bomadem cutting in field, and Bomadem! A star being born tonight perhaps in Cincinnati. 2 goals and an assist for Kenji and Bomadem. 6-0 to the home side. Clinical. In past his defender, cutting it back toward that near post. As the goalkeeper was starting to drift toward the far post, kissed it off the post and in. As a supporter, this has to be one of the best nights you've enjoyed here at TQL Stadium. You came into the night with no stress. You were up 4-0 on aggregate. From that point on, the stress that was already non-existent diminished even further. You've seen some great goals. You've seen some young players that are expected to be the future of your club step up and have impactful moments. You've enjoyed some good food, some good beverage, some good time with some good people. And you continue the songs as the goals continue to be poured in. Bit of a joking cheer from the crowd as Loro gets in front of this one. That is officially the first shot on target of the evening for O&M FC. Chavez for Chirilla on the turn. Stefan Chirilla patient, back out for Alvis Powell. Jimenez earns a corner. They've actually changed it to a goal kick. Sometimes, look, I suppose with the score being what it is, it doesn't matter. Sometimes you let the players police themselves. There's no argument from O&M FC. They set up defensively. Cincinnati were out there to take the corner. And then Katia Garcia indicated that she had actually called for a goal kick. In behind, Chirilla, flag stays down. Still Stefan Chirilla tries to get around the keeper. Stays down. O&M FC looking for something here. They do earn a corner. Dropped in toward the penalty spot. Comes out for Coelho. Swipes at it. Powell. It's off the referee, Garcia. A reminder of what's at stake here, beyond just, of course, the glory of winning this trophy in this tournament. We're back to the qualification now for future Club World Cup in 2029. Cruz Azul, reigning champions of this tournament. First team qualified for 2029. Saw some Concacaf teams this past summer have some success. Monterrey, Seattle Sounders, each acquitted themselves well. In from the corner, header drifts off target. Evan Loro gathers. Driving through, Wobodo. Options, lays it off. Why not 7? Steven Jimenez adds on another. Obino Wobodo has been outstanding tonight for Cincinnati. On a night where they rotated heavily, he's one of the ones that you can look at as a regular, where even if it was the quote-unquote full squad, it might still be out there. And he is just turning the men wearing yellow into traffic cones at times this evening. Jimenez had all the time in the world to set up, pick up his head, and finish. Well-deserved ovation for Kenji Mbomedem as he comes off the field. 2 goals and an assist tonight. Pavel Bukat replaces Brian Anunga. And Ayoub Lajar is the one who replaces Mbomadem. Minutes remaining. Cincinnati 7, O&M FC nothing. It's 11-0 on aggregate. Had a sense coming in the night could go like this, but I don't know if many expected it to be this heavy. 7 for Cincinnati. They've really not missed any opportunity that's come their way. Now taken 17 shots, 9 on target. Scoring on 7 of your 9 shots on target is an incredible conversion rate for the home side tonight. Buka out wide, Lajar. Chirilla gets in the way. Sent long by Olasagasti. Just not linking up at all in the attacking half. O&M FC. At some point, too, reality sets in. Scoreline getting out of hand early. It's your job as a professional to not allow it to take you out of your game, but sometimes it just does. Tough to refocus and keep at it when the goals pour in early the way they did tonight. Lajar and line, corner. From the corner, Buka was close. Loose in front, save made by Gelbensu. Blasted by Chavez from the corner. Churilla. Lachard. Obino Wobero. Chips it in, settled down, saved by Galvenzu. Try from a long way away. Goes high from Jimenez. Powell, who had the initial opportunity in the exchange. Change coming in goal now for O&M FC. Getting some playing time for Gerald Villar, as well as Sergio Abreu coming on now late. And Ricardo Sanchez. Elvis Powell. Swung in again toward Powell. Oh, the crowd roared earlier when he nearly created an opportunity. He's a fan favorite. He's wearing the captain's armband tonight, and he makes it 8 for Cincinnati. An original at the club going back to the inaugural season in 2019. Then he went away for a couple of years to Miami and Philadelphia before coming back in 2022. Doesn't get forward and tally too often, just 6 times in his long MLS career. Now he has his 2nd goal in his career in Champions Cup in 13 matches. Businesslike tonight from Cincinnati. Through and through from the start. Was never in doubt at 4-0. Sure, stranger things have happened in this tournament and other tournaments in this sport around the world, but just such a disparity between these two teams. O&M FC, the lowest ranked team coming into the tournament. In some ways, happy to be here for their first time ever. And that's not something you could take away from them. So all that said, it would have been easy for Cincinnati to come out tonight and just coast. And sometimes coasting leads to mistakes. It leads to an off night. Certainly saw it last year. They beat Motagua 4-1 last year in the opening leg. Eased off the throttle with a heavily rotated squad in the second leg and tied 1-1. Not tonight. Perhaps learning from that experience last year, pouring it on to make it 8. Just want to get out of here healthy without any red cards now if you're both these sides. Crowd breaks out in a red card chant. And to be honest, they have a definitive argument. Came in, studs up pretty late. Caught Flores right on the top of the boot. They're looking at it. And it is being changed to a red. Late ball was gone, studs were up. Hector Ramirez heads for a shower 8 minutes ahead of schedule. What lies ahead for Cincinnati is Tigres, team that ousted them last year in the round of 16. They will meet in the same round this year. Cannot get too far ahead of yourself, not in this tournament. But the road to a trophy is incredibly difficult for FC Cincinnati. After Tigres, it would be either the Seattle Sounders or presumably the Vancouver Whitecaps, unless Cartaginés has an upset in the cards this evening up in the Pacific Northwest in Vancouver. So just that right there, Tigres and either Vancouver or Seattle. 2 recent finalists, 1 recent winner. Vancouver made the final last year, Seattle won it all now a few years ago. It's just to get to a semi-final, going through Tigres and one of those 2 MLS sides for Cincinnati. I outlined the road ahead because that's where their aspirations lie. They're not in this tournament just to take part. They're here to take home a trophy. They were 1 point away from another piece of hardware last year. They were 1 point back of the Supporters' Shield in MLS. Albino Wobano taken off to Smiles. He's replaced by Sami Giri. And just to continue zooming out and looking at the possible path to a trophy for Cincinnati. Tigres, Seattle, Vancouver. 3 teams, well, Tigres they'll face in the round of 16, and either Vancouver or Seattle in the quarters. The pool of possible teams for them to face in the semifinal. Philadelphia, who've been outstanding year in, year out in MLS and in this tournament. Club America, champions of this tournament. Champions of Mexico. Nashville SC, or Lionel Messi and Inter Miami. Those are the 4 possible teams Cincinnati could face in a semifinal. So while the draw was maybe in their favor in this opening round, drawing the lowest ranked team in the tournament, draw is certainly not in their favor the rest of the way. About as difficult of a path as you could possibly have. Still to come tonight, that match between Vancouver and Cartaginés, starting at 9:30 Eastern time in Vancouver. Then later, LA Galaxy hosting Sporting San Miguelito. It's 0-0. Cartaginés, Vancouver on aggregate. 1-1, Los Angeles and San Miguelito. Played over the top by Ricardo Sanchez. Working through the lines now. Anielo Gomez got it ahead for Julen Monterola. Went out for a goal kick. Chirilla sets it up. Chirilla finishes it off. A historic night for FC Cincinnati. They've had multiple teenagers now get in on the scoring as well. A well-rounded effort, a well-rounded route of O&M. Andre Chirilla played the ball. Stefan Chirilla would ultimately be on the finishing end. So it started with one brother and finished with the other. Four last week, 4 in this first half, 5 in this second half, 13 overall. No doubt there will be no stoppage time at the end of this one. Can they add on? Chavez was there. There was no stoppage time in the first half either. Be hard-pressed to find a reason why they would add stoppage time in the second half. But this crowd, you could hear it. They went up a couple of decibels after the 9th goal went in. They want 10. See if Cincinnati obliges in the 3 minutes they have to work with. The "We Want 10" chant comes up from the crowd. Chavez Kiri. Elvis Powell. Is he trying to give this crowd what it wants? So that would have been special. Final whistle goes. 9 goals from 7 different goal scorers. 13-0 on aggregate. All around dominant from FC Cincinnati as they move on past O&M FC into the round of 16 in the 2026 Concacaf Champions Cup, where Tigres awaits. And what a matchup that could be. We saw the same matchup in the round of 16 last year. Tigres eliminated Cincinnati, and now FC Cincinnati will have their crack at revenge.
Isaac, partido muy difícil para O&M, partido de vuelta muy complejo en el frío, fuera de casa. ¿Qué experiencia les deja?
Bueno, una experiencia única, la verdad. Realmente le doy gracias a Dios, también a nuestros compañeros. La verdad hacía mucho frío aquí, pero nosotros tratamos de venir a buscar el resultado, a buscar esta linda experiencia. La verdad que no pudo ser. Vamos a seguir trabajando para que en otra instancia podamos estar en este bonito escenario.
Después de esta experiencia, ¿qué se espera para O&M en el futuro?
Bueno, la verdad, ya el domingo tenemos partido de nuestra liga. Seguir trabajando, seguir esforzándonos, dar lo mejor de cada uno de nuestros compañeros y a por la liga de nosotros para volver a estar en un escenario así como este.
Gracias.
Siempre.
Okay, I just bring another player. Steven Jimenez, great night for Cincinnati tonight in the second leg of this Champions Cup.
No, yeah, I'm excited, you know, to be at TQL, score my first professional goal, and happy we got the win tonight. And now we just got to focus on the next round, and that's where I'm mainly focused right now, my head on. So proud tonight of the goal and super excited.
This is your first professional goal, and you something that make you the player of the match.
No, you know, I'm excited, you know, all the work I have put in, all the stuff, all the sacrifice. You know, I'm just excited, you know, I feel like it's a special night for me, celebrating my family, because, you know, they've always been there to support me, and I'm just happy for my first goal.
What's next for Cincinnati in the next round?
You know, just to give it all, you know, we're going for it all, and, you know, our main focus is, well, game by game, and I hope we get to win the trophy, and that's our main goal right now. But right now we're focused on our next match, and just super excited for the next round, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, don't go. Ready?
Full-time stats, well, it was certainly a rout. 13-0 on aggregate, 9-0 on the night, 13 shots on target to none. All-around domination by FC Cincinnati over O&M FC. A look back at the highlights from FC Cincinnati's 9-0 victory over O&M FC. And they really jumped on them from the get-go. 18 minutes in is when the first goal would come. It did not take long for things to really deteriorate from there, from the perspective of O&M FC. The opening goal belonged to Kenji Mbomadem, his first of two on the evening, would also tack on an assist here tonight. And then it was Tom Barlow feeding it in front. Wobodo plays it off of Valenzuela. That went ahead and made it 2-0. It'd be 4 at halftime. And the next one would come off a corner in the 33rd minute. An own goal charged against Castillo. Off the head of Kyle Smith, headed it back. Went off the hand and in. And this the cleanest goal of that opening half. Tom Barlow opened the scoring last week, and he would close the scoring in the first half here, making it 4-0 in favor of FC Cincinnati. They would just continue pouring on, though, in the second half. All the way to the backside, where Neymar Chavez, making his first team debut for Cincinnati, would score. Some history with that. He became the youngest goal scorer in FC Cincinnati history by putting that one in. And then Mbomadem would add his second of the evening. Mbomadem was active throughout. So was Obina Wobodo. Wobodo here would find Steven Jimenez. Jimenez would net his first goal of 2026. That one came in the 68th minute. This was maybe the one the fans cheered most about. Elvis Powell in the 78th minute. Longtime fan favorite, part of their inaugural team back in 2019. Doesn't score too often. He captained the side tonight, and he netted the 8th goal of the day. And then for good measure, in the 86th minute, Stefan Chirilla would go ahead and make it 9. But not before we had some controversy A late challenge from Ramirez was initially given as a yellow. They went to VAR. It was upgraded to a red. Some tempers flared after this in the ensuing moments, and then cooler heads would prevail. So no further harm done for either side, either physically or in terms of the cards. And this is the last goal. It started with Chirilla at the back, found his brother up top. Stefan Chirilla would deposit it for the 9th of the night, adding up to a 9-0 Cincinnati victory. That'll do it for us here this evening, where FC Cincinnati takes it 9-0 on the night, 13-0 on aggregate, and they move on to the round of 16 in Champions Cup, where they will take on Tigres. Thanks for joining us. Joe Malfa saying so long for now. Good night, everybody.